Chapter 31. Miles had time to contemplate his fate as the tank engine rumbled to life and the sheriff, along with her squad, piled in. Meridian Corporation had always used its own special investigation unit that would occasionally throw their weight around and take over a sensitive case. The River City cops, along with the Army MPs, had no choice but to stand back and let it happen. Seraph wasn't the same, but it wasn't much different. He'd be tossed in his cell and allowed to stew. Perhaps the sheriff would have him executed once she got what she was after. He could easily give her Dawn, might save Dylan. But no, he realized. No matter what he shared, the sheriff was going to do what was good for her and her credit balance, and getting rid of a couple more bodies would be simpler than any alternative. He would buy some time for Dawn at least. Had the Meridian agent learned Dawn's location from his brain scan? He assumed so. But picking through memories took time, and Miles had killed him before he could share anything. The blast of sirens and a blaring flurry of horns preceded the sharp stab of the brakes, sending Miles hard against the wall of the tank's holding compartment. He struggled to sit upright, his cuffed wrists chained to a ring set in the floor. Some of the equipment had toppled. He craned his neck, but he couldn't get high enough to see out the slit windows. The red banner cops deployed. "Put down your weapons! Put down your weapons!" cried someone through a loudspeaker. "Here we go again," Miles said. He kicked the barrier between the storage compartment and the passenger space beyond. "Hey, what's going on?" "Be quiet," the sheriff said. Then her voice blared on the tank's own even louder squawk box. "Yellow Tigers, this is Sheriff Vaca. Your units are out of line. Put down your weapons and get that runner out of the way, or you'll find yourself in violation of Seraph law. This is Marshal Barma. You're the one who needs to stand down. Your authority over this investigation is rescinded by order of Mayor Bedford." The tank address system squealed once before shutting off. Even in the back compartment, he could hear the sheriff cursing a storm. Then a door opened. Her voice was audible outside, along with Barma's, as they shouted at each other. Miles couldn't get close enough to press his ear to the back doors, but he caught snippets. From Sheriff Vaca, in the middle of an active investigation, jeopardizing the safety of the city, and Tigers almost started a shootout with a Red District squad. Marshal Barma can't declare martial law and act without city approval, not an autonomous force, and this investigation is over until Mayor Bedford sees both of us in person. Now, let my deputy go. The back doors opened. A Yellow Tiger trooper brought Miles outside. Barma stood in the middle of the street with his fists on his hips, his hat tilted back, and his untucked shirt damp with sweat as he faced down the much smaller Vaca in her blue windbreaker. 3 Yellow Tiger cruisers along with Barma's tiny subcompact were parked, blocking both lanes. "We'll see about this, Barma," she said. "You'll regret it. Mark my words, you will." She stormed through the line of the Red District cops and climbed back inside the tank. Barma motioned for Miles to be brought forward. The trooper undid the cuffs. Miles immediately massaged his left wrist, careful to avoid the bloody lacerations in his skin. Barma accepted Miles' hat and device from one of the Red District soldiers before handing them over. "One of your fingers is missing." Miles tried to unlock his device, but saw the screen had been smashed and wouldn't light up. "Parts have been falling off spontaneously lately. Not sure if they're secure." "You okay?" "I need to call Dylan." "Your son's safe. There's a Yellow Tiger unit watching him now at his work. We also picked up Lucian Carr. He's being taken home. The Tigers have a detail on him too." "Thought you were taking time off." "Got bored last night. And this morning the wheels started turning. Couldn't let it lie." "How'd you know where to find me anyway?" "Red banners tracked my phone. You use their radio or the traffic network?" "Nothing that fancy. A couple of credits a month to their dispatcher, and I get a text message with whatever I need when I ask nicely." "So what's up with this mayor thing? How did it get Vaca to back down?" "Easy," Barma said. "Mayor Bedford is both our bosses. He gets final say on who gets what. If she can play that card, so can I. And after 3 shootouts across the city, A bombing and a couple of kidnappings. He wants a clear picture of what's happening before letting anyone off the leash. I could have used your help earlier. Believe me when I say I'm busy. I have 6 marshals out on patrol who need support. I have 1 sick in the hospital and another out on leave. But I'm not kidding. The mayor wants to see me and her. Miles moved to block Barma from returning to his car. Meanwhile, the tank had revved up, and the Yellow Tiger cruisers began to leave. How did you know to come out here at this particular time? Miles asked. I was monitoring the situation. Then Captain Sin called and told me how deep you had gotten. And you got the Yellow Tigers to back you up. Barma grinned. Amazing what I can manage when I pull my weight. Or you got some extra motivation. The grin vanished. What are you implying? It's been a long couple of days. I've been blown up, my insight module fried, flash-banged, my head stuck with electrodes, and my brain probed. See my hand? Someone busted my finger, and the only doctor I know here who works on cyborgs performs surgery on unwilling subjects. I'm past implying and jumping straight to accusations. You're involved in this in some way you don't want to share. I want to know what that is. Who's paying you? You really want to do this in the middle of the street? There was traffic either waiting or edging past with plenty of nasty stares from the angry drivers. If one of the Yellow Tiger cruisers wasn't lingering, there'd be blaring horns. Miles followed Barma into his car, and the marshal drove for 100 meters to a turnout onto a dead field of dry grass. They were alone. Miles spoke first. You said you don't trust anyone. Now you show up with a writ from the mayor's office and the backing of one of the militias. Someone likes you suddenly, and you're trying to put a lid on this thing when it's still boiling over. Barma was tapping the steering wheel with his thumb and looking straight ahead. At least wedged into his seat like that, Miles doubted the big man could even draw his weapon, if it came to that. A little gratitude would be nice, Barma said softly. That's not a denial. So how's the other shoe going to drop? I'm the last suspect who might have any idea where your transponder is. You have an interrogation center of your own? Back to Yellow Tiger HQ? Geez, Kim, you have an imagination. No, nothing like that is coming your way. Looks like you could use a hospital, though. You don't actually know where this thing is, do you? What makes you say that? Miles asked. You're still alive. The Meridian agents were still looking. What do you mean, were? Yellow Tigers cornered them up in the factory district. They didn't come quietly. After all their searching, they were empty-handed. This radio doohickey and everyone who was looking for it are gone, and that's for the better. It's over. You asked who's paying me? I work for Seraph. You're trying to make what you do sound noble. Someone authorizes the credits which show up in my account, but since you're not letting up, the Yellow Tiger organization made overtures to me yesterday. Their board is processing what Bing Patton was planning, and they decided they wanted to head a different direction. They want to make sure the radio thingy stays lost. Buried is better, broken is best. I checked with the mayor, and he agrees. So I took them up on the offer. A bribe. A bonus. What? You don't like that? Offend some lingering sense of propriety? You don't work here, or for me, anymore. I did you a solid. You're on the take, even if it's for a little. Someone tells you when to be and not be a cop. Seraph's an expensive town. I have bills. Don't we all? They sat for a moment. Miles felt acid in his throat. Doohickey. Do you even know what the transponder is? No one's volunteered, and I don't want to know. Sheriff Vaca and Red District will stand down or lose everything. It's the way the wind's blowing. It's over. You think you got all the Meridian agents? They're no joke. I'm going back to where they found you and picking through everything. We're checking camera feeds to see if we missed any of them. If we did, it'll be time to form up an old-fashioned posse and hunt them down. There's pressure after everything that's happened to wrap this up. Seraph protects what it has, and word is out that Meridian is overstepped. Barma started the car and drove back to the road. Miles cradled his hurt wrist. Where are you taking me? Wood Creek Hospital or back to your hotel. You're done. You're also a mess. If it's just the same, take me to Bright Blocks. Barma eyed him suspiciously. You know something. Very little, it seems, but I like the clinic there, and it's also where I left my ride. Chapter 32. By the time Barma pulled into the lot below the Bright Blocks clinic, Miles had dozed off. Is this the place? Barma asked. Miles scanned the parked vehicles. His blue scooter was gone. Looks like I forgot where I parked it, or the locals appreciated my ride a little too much. It might be at my mechanic. You have a mechanic? It's in the district here. Miles gave directions and Barma took him to Dr. Brooks' garage. The doctor's big motorcycle waited in a spot between the shipping containers. There she is, Miles said as he got out of the subcompact. Not a cheap ride. Take it easy, Miles. Barma didn't wait around. Was the doctor still alive? He paused at the door to the container. It stood ajar. From inside came Dr. Brooks' voice. Be there in 30 minutes. That's the quickest I can make it. No, I know what happened, and I don't know who those men were. It's nothing that can't be cleaned up. Get the report from the militia, and I'll file it with the insurance as soon as I get in. So their ploy with the Meridian agents had worked. Unfortunately for Dr. Brooke, he was going to need more time to make his appointment. Miles crouched next to the bike, opened a small fuse box, and fished the 3 fuses he had removed from his pocket. They were intact. They slipped in place easy enough, and he snapped the box closed and got on the bike, slipping the key into the ignition. The engine whined to life. He sped off onto the road, the hot air licking his face. Was this it? Was it like Barma had said, and the matter was over? The 3 junkyard deaths and all the other crimes swept under the rug by the Seraph mayor and his law enforcement agencies? And what were the odds that the treasure the 3 wealthiest Seraph citizens were set to purchase would be forgotten? Either Marshal Barma was naive or he was lying. Miles didn't have money for a new phone, so he rode to Dylan's place of work. It was late enough in the afternoon he feared he might miss him. Out in front of the single-level school, he pulled up next to Zoe's tiny silver car. Other parents were likewise waiting, some on the sidewalks talking in groups, while several students biked and walked past. It was at least an hour after school had let out. Zoe was out of her car and leaned in to hug him. What are you doing here? I thought I'd check in with Dylan. Okay. Although he's supposed to be out any minute, we're running late. We're doing an early dinner because we both have work. He has a dress rehearsal later with some of the parents present. I'm not here to keep him long. I just needed to see him. Well, isn't that sweet? She gave him a once-over. What happened to you? It was a rough day. I survived. Maybe I should see the other guy before passing judgment, but are you okay? I'm fine. You talked to Dylan this afternoon? Texted an hour ago. He's fine too. You should come with us. Get a bite. Maybe everyone's nerves will calm down. Then the 2 of you can talk. Because it looks like you have something to get off your chest. You say he's good? Yeah. Miles, what's wrong? He's held up as usual, but he's fine. Call him if you can't wait for him to come out. My phone stopped working. I just needed to hear from him. He's all right. But if you just talk to him, then that's good enough. Maybe we'll all have dinner another night. I realize I'm a sight, and I need to go back to my hotel and get some rest. Offer's open. I'm sure he'll be happy to see you if you just wait another minute. A group of children who straggled past were better groomed than the students he had seen heading to school in Bright Blocks. While some were disheveled, none had holes in their clothes, and what they wore appeared to fit. The boys had trimmed hair and some wore ball caps for the school cricket team, while a few of the girls already had touches of makeup and metal jewelry instead of plastic, in gaudy colors. Miles, Zoe said, what's wrong? Nothing. But he continued to watch the kids. An itch at the edge of his mind was trying to piece something together, but without insight, it was hazy and difficult to grasp. I'm going to go. I'll tell Dylan you were here to say hello. By the way, nice bike. He said goodbye and got his motorcycle moving. As Barma had told him, a yellow Tiger officer waited in a cruiser at the entrance to the student pickup lane. The trooper looked bored. Nothing was happening. Dylan was safe. Miles could return to his hotel, but he had one more stop to make. Don Moretti's bungalow was empty. It was as if no one had ever lived there. The bed tidy and made, the bathroom spotless, the drugs and weapons gone. Miles saw no scuffs on the floor, no sign the door had been smashed or the lock scraped up and picked. No blood spatters or broken furniture either. While it was possible the Meridian agents or some other operators had arrived and scooped her up, he doubted any of them would have bothered scrubbing up like this. It was her. And like her withdrawal from the scene of the shootout, he guessed she hadn't left a single trace of physical evidence of her presence because of whatever spy-level nanobots she must keep inside her sleeve. He felt some measure of relief when he spotted the older neighbor outside, watching him as he emerged. At least she hadn't eliminated all the eyewitnesses to her existence. Miles could only guess whether she was truly gone, but would she once again try to reacquire the transponder, or would she cut her losses? He went outside and found the neighbor. "Did you see Dawn leave this afternoon?" The old man scowled as he considered Miles. "Don't suppose I did. I suppose you didn't either, or at least you're not going to tell me." But Miles dropped it, wasn't in the mood to brace the neighbor for more information. So what if he had seen her depart? It wasn't as if he could say where she was going. Miles went back to his bike, sat for a moment. The lumpy hotel bed sounded good, but 20 minutes later, he pulled onto Lucien Carr's street. 2 yellow Tiger patrol cars were watching the place. Miles pulled behind a dumpster. Lucien was home and safe. It was over. Yet something about the situation felt like when his drill instructor would shout them to silence following a minor row. Things would settle for an hour or a day, sure, but an unexpected elbow throw or a push off a training obstacle would remind everyone that sometimes the instructors weren't looking and a matter between recruits wasn't settled. After a couple of hours, and the sun having set, he realized he might be wrong. Santa Butrasin was probably wondering if he had abandoned his dog with her. His stomach growled. And Tristan was probably having kittens waiting for him to show up, assuming he still had a security job to return to. There wasn't much traffic on the residential street. A few strollers, but otherwise it was a calm night. Faint voices, music, someone practicing playing a horn badly, the sounds of normal life. A hint of a breeze peeled back the heat. The warmth felt pleasant. The dark figure which vaulted the fence separating Lucien's complex with the neighboring property moved quickly. It ran through the shadows on the opposite side of the street. An approaching vehicle stopped, and a door opened. With his right eye, Miles zoomed in. A limo. The passenger compartment lights were on, and he saw who was riding in back. Svetlana Petrov. And judging by the figure's height and general shape and what neighborhood they were in, she was picking up her star client and didn't want the militia troopers to see. But Lucian wasn't getting in. Words were exchanged. From the passenger side came a large man who apprehended Lucian. "Let go." The man was stronger and hauled Lucian into the back of the limo. The door slammed. The passenger compartment lights went out. The limo made a 5-point turn and headed back down the street. Miles started up the bike and followed. Chapter 33. They were heading into Bright Blocks. Miles had seen enough of the neighborhood for a while, but could only guess they were returning to the scene of the crime. Surely the militia had the place censored up. The silent alarm had caught him last time. But what purpose could this trip serve? Red District and the sheriff had searched the location, no doubt multiple times. If the transponder had been hidden, it would have been found. They didn't cross the berm to the junkyard. Instead, they cruised down the lane towards a large building. Derelict vehicles stripped of doors, fenders, tires, and engines lined the street. Groups of huddled locals gathered around barrels of fire. Children ran about in the dancing gloom. Older youths pedaled about on bicycles. A vendor with a food cart with an open grill made skewers. The limo coasted past it all. Miles shut off his lights and kept 100 meters back, finally bringing the bike to a stop next to what had once been a driverless truck. The limo had parked in a sandy roundabout behind another car. Miles took the key out and went on foot to get closer. From the limo emerged two men Miles guessed were bodyguards. They had dark glasses despite the late hour, broad shoulders and suits which might conceal a tactical jet fighter. The skewer seller barked something at him in Mandarin, but Miles ignored her, pausing at the corner of a utility box covered in scrawl. Whoever normally ran this neighborhood was in hiding, but there were plenty of teens about, no doubt serving as their eyes and ears. The limo was being watched. Miles was too, but whatever was going down was being allowed to happen. Or the neighborhood bosses were smart enough to know when they were outgunned. Svetlana Petrov, Lucian Carr, and the gorilla who had apprehended him got out next. They met a waiting goon at the gate to the apartments and they all vanished inside. Miles followed. The central courtyard was boxed in by the four-story complex on all sides. A concrete bunker-like structure dominated the center courtyard. Perhaps it had once been a community clubhouse. Now, it looked like a redoubt in the center of a ruined city block. The apartment building only had a dozen lights in the 100 windows looking out at the courtyard. Many of the balconies were missing, while some were little more than crumbling ledges, but residents were on many of these, legs dangling and watching silently as the procession moved towards the bunker. From somewhere, a baby wailed, and a woman was shouting angrily. Thrumming music blasted from a few of the apartments. The smell of fried foods, burned breadstuff, and garlic permeated the air. Miles waited in the entryway until Svetlana and Lucian vanished. One guard was waiting outside and watched as Miles approached. "Am I late?" The man was reaching inside his jacket when Miles punched him in the center of his chest. The goon gasped. He would have collapsed, but Miles caught him and brought him along inside. A weak light fixture buzzed above the main clubhouse room. The bare space was littered with rubbish and reeked of urine. A pair of older teens in sleeveless shirts stood on either side of a group of 4 young children, all girls, young, around 10, wearing simple clothes, shoulder-length black hair, East Asian features. Miles recognized a lineup when he saw one. Something else the girls all shared was a collection of cheap, colorful bracelets. Svetlana Petrov had one on her desk when Miles had visited her office. The 4 terrified children kept their heads low, as if not wanting to make eye contact with the 2 men keeping them captive, or any of the new arrivals. Everyone else stared at Miles. He shoved the door guard down to the ground, but not before clearing a burner from the man's jacket. He tried gripping the weapon in his right hand, but with the broken finger it didn't feel right, so he switched. "What are you doing here?" Svetlana blurted. "I'm asking myself the same question. I'm here to see this thing finished." The goon next to Lucian flexed his fingers. Both the guards by the girls appeared ready to bolt, but Svetlana set her jaw and closed in on Miles. "Leave. This doesn't concern you. Let me tell you what I see here and correct me if I'm wrong. You've got 4 scared children who don't want to be here. You also snatched Lucian. The item that was up for grabs didn't just vanish. Someone took it. But while the militias in Meridian looked for me, for Lucian, or their own wayward agent, everyone but you missed the fact that there was someone else at the party. Maybe it was one of these girls. Am I on the right track? This is your last chance to put that gun away and go. Lucian, have you tried firing your lawyer? Hostile customer service like this shouldn't be tolerated." Svetlana's face turned a shade of beet red. "I love Lucian like a son. Is that why that big ape had to pull him into your car? An upgrade over his other muscle, I see. And this one listens to you. Already getting used to how things will be now that you're in charge of Shahid Khar's empire." "He's not left-handed, boss," the goon said. "And his right hand is busted. I can take him." Miles shot him. The man dropped and howled, clutching a burn wound in his side. The guards by the girls stiffened and raised their hands. Lucian did too. Svetlana barely flinched. "So you shoot with your offhand, bravo." "Come on, Lucian, let's get you home," Miles said. Lucian hesitated. The cocksure student presiding over his theater lackeys and the kid who had survived the torments of the Meridian interrogator were gone. He looked at Svetlana like a child who couldn't manage with his shoelaces. Svetlana's face softened. "It's okay, Lucian. Your friend here doesn't understand this, and you don't have to tell him anything. I'll care for you. Once tonight is over, you won't have to do anything like this ever again. After tonight, you won't need him anymore, will you? Miles asked. I don't know what you're talking about. You have Lucien tell you which of these kids was there the other night. They lead you to the transponder. We don't really need him to run anything. Probably best if he's out of the way. You'll have enough money and clout to steal Shahid Khar's empire and make it your own. I would never hurt him. Maybe, but that didn't stop you from strong-arming him tonight. Lucien, tell Mr. Kim you're fine. Tell him to leave. Lucien managed. Is that what you want, Lucien? Miles asked. Me to leave you here with her? With them? When Lucien remained silent, Svetlana laughed. I'll take care of you, sweetie. Never mind the nasty man. Now, Mr. Kim, won't you put the gun away? You're scaring him and everyone else here, and you shot poor Mr. Brandt. Don't talk to me about scared, Miles said. You've brought 4 girls here under duress and terrorized them. They haven't been harmed. Once we solve this, everyone gets a few credits to make the ouchies go away. That's the obvious solution, isn't it? A bump to whatever pittance Marshal Barma has paid you? You've proven capable. Perhaps a job offer? I'm sure your talents are worth the going rate. I'll pass. Lucien, it's time to decide. The young man nodded. I'd like to leave. Svetlana rolled her eyes. Well, you can't. At least not yet. This is ridiculous. We came this far. I need you to hold it together for a few more minutes. We find the item and then you go back home. Which girl was it? Lucien looked at the children before pointing at the one on the far left. Her. I think. Good. Now, Mr. Kim, you can watch as I have a friendly conversation with her so we can settle this matter. Not a hair on her head will be harmed. She crouched before the girl. Hi, sweetie. I'm sorry these boys scared you, but I'm friendly. Why don't you tell me what happened the other night after you met that nice young man over there? That's enough, Miles said. Get away from her. Lucien? What happened next happened fast. Svetlana pivoted with the girl in her arms. She raised a small palm blaster that appeared out of nowhere and fired. The sharp pop, pop, pop echoed through the small chamber. Miles dove to the floor, felt a sharp sting in his shoulder. The local toughs on either side of the girls were running. So were the other girls, one of them screaming at the top of her lungs. Lucien remained standing even as Svetlana was backing towards a rear exit, the girl in her arms. Her blaster moved about the room. The injured guard Miles had shot was crawling out of the way. The door guard had rolled to the cover of an alcove. From his ankle, he pulled a backup weapon. Get down! Miles shouted at Lucien, but the young man remained frozen in place. Miles sprang for him, knocking Lucien to the floor as more shots erupted from either side of them. White, hot pain surged down his left side as he clutched Lucien with his metal arm. They landed hard on the ground, Miles shielding Lucien as puffs of smoke from the burner impacts exploded along the nearest wall. The searing agony made it hard to breathe. Miles rolled to his back, forcing his left hand to keep hold of the weapon, but the arm trembled as he felt himself growing weaker. The door guard was on his feet. I got him. Grinning, he took a step forward, raising the burner. Take care of both of them, Svetlana ordered. Miles felt a mountain weighing on his gun hand, and it was only getting heavier. His burner tumbled from his grip, and he dropped his arm. The guard had him and Lucien in his sights, and the man's smile hardened. Sorry, kid, the deal's too good. Nothing personal. Chapter 34. The bang and starburst which followed filled Miles' world with light and thunder, robbing him of all sense of direction, space, and time, too numb for hell, too painful for heaven. But there was enough sensation from his mechanical arm to realize he still gripped Lucien, even as pinpricks rolled up and down his skin. His face tingled. The splitting screeching in his ears was a sharp set of needles driving ever deeper. He couldn't blink away the afterimages of whatever had happened. An explosion. Didn't need insight to know a burner wouldn't do that. Another flashbang. Meridian. Somehow they had found them. And as much as his side and shoulder continued to throb from the burner rounds he had taken, he knew he was alive, and the door guard hadn't fired. He worked his jaw, tried to sit up. A set of hands helped him. A muffled voice, feminine. He was placed against a wall, steady when he almost keeled over, and then left alone. "Pusien," he croaked. But no one answered. He strained his left eye, willed his insight module to start up again, but it was his artificial right eye which fed his brain the information he craved. No one was in the clubhouse, no one standing at least. The lamps had been destroyed in the explosion. Next to him lay sprawled the two guards. His poor night vision didn't give him enough detail to know if they were alive or not, but for the moment, neither moved. Where was Lucien? He lost track of what was hurting when he clenched his teeth and forced himself to stand. Concrete dust filled the air and choked his nostrils. An acrid chemical smell, perhaps residue from the grenade, stung his sinus and throat and coated his tongue. He absently touched his face and confirmed he was bleeding from his nose and lips. Contusions on his cheek and jaw. Some kind of sting pellets in the flashbang, he guessed. The type of party popper when you want people to survive. He checked both guards for a weapon. Nothing. He tottered across the room, scanning for any more bodies. Apparently the children had gotten out, along with Svetlana. So had whoever chucked the grenade. Locals? Why would they bother to get him sitting up? Only one other possibility. He made it to the back entrance, where a fire exit stood ajar, the automatic door closer dangling. Things were coming into view. The lights on the courtyard balconies were smears of light. Shapes moved in the darkness. Voices. Not English. At least not at first. "Hey, mister, you don't look so good." Miles tried to walk forward, but decided it would be best to lean in the doorway for a little while, until the world below him stopped spinning. Dawn Moridi was staring at him. She was on her haunches and put a hand to his head and scraped crust from his eye. "Can you walk?" "On a good day, yes." He leaned heavily as she guided him around the outside of the clubhouse towards the front of the apartment complex. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Saving you at the moment. Since it looks like you weren't going anywhere, the locals might have decided you didn't need some of your parts. Lots of that going around." Lucien took off. The lawyer slipped away, too. "Slipped away, or you shot them?" She didn't answer. When they made it to the entrance, he stopped to get a look at her. She wore a dark combat suit with no helmet. Bandages concealed half of her face. A compact submachine gun with a suppressor and reflex scope hung around one arm, along with a duffel bag. "You have the transponder." Back to square one. Enough people know about it now that I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Get out of this neighborhood first, and figure it out from there. It's trouble. Meridian isn't going to stop. Neither will all the other interested parties. Maybe. But tell me, after your experience in the war, are you happy about how it all ended? You've been around long enough to see what's happened to us. Seraph, River City. Is that enough for you? I'm not a politician. You're human. We're heading full steam back to where we were hundreds of years ago. Look at this neighborhood, and it's barely a few decades old. Getting off this rock was humanity's one silver lining. This has a chance of getting us back out there. A lot of ifs. That thing needs to work. And if you're so altruistic, give it away. Give it to the university. Have them put the schematics on SeraphNet. Share it with New Pacific. Meridian won't be able to take it away. Outside, the grill had closed shop. Dozens of people watched from the burning barrels. Everyone was keeping their distance. Even in the building foyer's darkness, Miles felt exposed. I'm going to put you on your motorcycle, Dawn said. It's up to you what to do next. We're square now, but if you come after me, don't expect me to not shoot first. She got him moving towards his bike. It was parked where he left it and appeared intact. How did you find the transponder? He asked. Slipped you a tracing patch when you brought me home. It was still active when I came to, and once I got myself well enough to get up and pump with more stims, I came searching. And the local kids? My little angels. I was out of it when they found me. They did their best to patch me up. I'm guessing they took off when the scrappers came around. Then the scrappers brought the surgeon. Lucian must have run into one of the kids before the meet started. That's the bracelet thing I overheard them talking about, wasn't it? Yeah. So it wasn't just one of them. Those girls found me and stabilized me before robbing me and taking the transponder. Probably thought it was worth a credit or two. Turns out no one wanted it. I'm not even mad. You have your bike key. He did. You didn't hurt any of them? Those kids are just trying to get by, like you and me. I traded for the transponder, and now their family has enough credits to give them a chance, if they can get out of this block. You're a veritable saint. And I don't need your approval. Worry about yourself on this one. You didn't make friends. You think Lucien Carr is going to be sending you return day messages? Sheriff going to forget you torpedoing her grab for power? You could come with me. What? I'll get you fixed up. We can find others who don't want this to be our future. I fought my war. Seraph is my home now. Yeah, figured you say that. She got him leaning on his bike. So many questions. Who had first found the transponder? Did she really believe the caretakers would sit idly by while someone built a spaceship to test their defenses? And what was her plan when the word spread that she had it? Destroy it, he finally said, but when he looked about, he discovered that Don Moriti had once again vanished. Chapter 35. When he tried to start the bike, the engine didn't turn. The palm-sized control panel wouldn't light up either, and a quick examination revealed the low-voltage generator was missing, along with a few of the cables and the alternator. He started pushing. It was a bad idea that only got worse when he realized the bike was a beast without power, plus he was hurt and exhausted. He took a shortcut across a lot, passing several groups of locals, dutifully avoiding eye contact. Had they been part of Svetlana Petrov's search for the girls who had found the transponder? Were they family who had been no doubt threatened by the thugs who had dragged the girls to the clubhouse? Or were they the thieves who had taken parts from his stolen motorcycle and were even now waiting to jump him to finish the job? No, he decided. They were just enjoying the night as best they could and didn't want to get hassled any more than he did. Still, he didn't want to stop moving. The tapping of metal pipes sounded from somewhere behind him. Same noise as what he had heard back in the junkyard after rescuing Dawn, just before someone had thrown a bottle. At a neighboring property, bright lights illuminated a basketball court. A sizable group of people, young and old, were gathered. Someone played guitar, while two women sang a bright, full-throated duet in Spanish. A man in a festive costume handed out whipped gelato from a dispenser. Miles got closer. In center court, a spiderbot suspended on wires attached to an overhead boom was doing a whipsy-whirled dance of flips and pirouettes. It bounced high in a somersault to the delight of the collected audience. Past the entertainment, a material printer was chugging away, putting the finishing touches on a large walk. A metal grinder whirred to life next to it as a woman in a greasy t-shirt threw lengths of scrap metal and plastics into the top of the machine. The clatter of rending steel drowned out the music for a few seconds before the operator killed the engine. She shoveled the resulting grist from a receptacle and loaded it into the printer. A waiting man exclaimed his delight when the machine operator handed over the walk. She then went to work programming the printer, and it sprang to life on a new project. The next man had a bike missing some parts. The printer churned out a bike chain in no time flat. One man's trash. Miles stopped pushing. Couldn't go on, or didn't want to, he wasn't sure. But the motorcycle was heavy, his side ached, and his shoulder was in agony. He went over to the woman operating the machines. See that bike there? Can you use it for your recycler? It took her only a moment. Wow. Yes, absolutely. Looks like she's in good shape, actually. Too good for the grinder, if you ask me. What is this, some kind of festival? What? Our neighborhood huddle? You knew? This is what our neck of bright blocks does every night. Fight the dark with good, right? Say, are you okay? You seem shaky. I'm okay. He handed her the key to the motorcycle. Nothing I can't handle on my own. He made it as far as the street, where he found a concrete base to a missing light pole to sit on. There, he listened to the last song before the musicians quit. The crowd dispersed, and the recycler operator packed her machines into a cargo container. The lights went out. Somewhere in the distance, more pipes banged, with others answering, until it sounded like 3 separate percussionists rapping out messages. Miles might have been resting for 10 minutes or an hour, wasn't sure when they showed up. It was at least 5 of them, with another 5 or maybe 10 lurking further back in the shadows. A lean man in a tank top squatted next to him and gave him a nudge. "You awake?" "Let me guess, this is your turf." The man shrugged, smiled. Even in the faint light, Miles glimpsed gold among the man's front teeth. He also had a metal bat in his hand. He nudged Miles with the bat. "You and your friends came onto our property and started some things." "Not my friends. You almost got some of my family killed." "Yeah. I have the name of the person who was in charge of what happened. A lawyer. Pretty good at what she does if you got the money." "You think you're funny. She's gone, and so are her soldiers. You got left behind." "Not my crew. I followed them here to stop them from hurting anyone, including the girls they grabbed." The gold teeth flashed in a sneer. "2 of them are my nieces." "Your nieces got into something which got them in trouble. That trouble is gone now." "You say that like you're happy about it." "Yeah, I'm happy. It was bad news I've been chasing for the past 2 days, and it ended here. For your niece's sake, it's good that it's over. For everyone's sake, maybe." Goldtooth poked Miles in the chest with the bat. "So we have you to thank?" "I didn't start it. I didn't finish it. Maybe it won't be over, but I doubt anything will come back here to your neck of Seraph. The person responsible for breaking up that meeting is gone." "This lawyer?" "No. Another lady who got herself messed up, and your nieces saved her. They then took something they couldn't have known would bring this kind of hassle to your front door." Goldtooth stood and consulted in hushed tones with 2 of the others before returning to Miles' side. "Sounds like maybe you did like you said and helped my family by sending those people away. My neighborhood looks out for its own. Don't need you or anyone else coming here dragging their fights into our block. Understand?" Miles gave him a thumbs up. "So long as that's clear." Goldtooth leaned closer. "But friend, you don't look so good." "Just resting up. I'll be on my way in a bit." Goldtooth did some more consulting. Miles felt a fresh wave of dizziness when he tried to rise. Fell back. The shapes closed in on him. If he knew where he'd wake up, he would have found the strength to laugh. Chapter 36. The scalpel hovered near Miles' eye. Lights kept blinding him, the illumination radiating from 2 LEDs on either side of Dr. Brooks' glasses. "You shouldn't be awake. Nurse, he's awake." A woman appeared over him, who Miles recognized from the Bright Blocks clinic. She had an anesthesia mask she brought up to Miles' face. Miles grabbed her by the wrist. She screamed, dropped the mask, tried to back away. Dr. Brooke tried to pry Miles' hand away. "Hey, dog, let go, let go. You're okay. No one's hurting you here." Miles tried to move, but his body wasn't responding. Then he noticed he held the nurse with his cybernetic hand, and the missing finger had been replaced. "You're all right," the doctor continued. "We're fixing you up is all. You hurt her, and that's one more thing to add to your bill. Now hold still. I have work to do." "Why can't I move?" Dr. Brooks smiled. "I sprung extra for local anesthetics. Can't have you wiggling around." Miles let the nurse go. She retreated from the table. He examined his hand, turning and flexing it. The replaced finger was of a darker metal composite, and the joints looked different. The rest of his hand and right arm were polished and smelled of machine oil. "Replacement digit is compatible," Insight volunteered. "Driver update installed." "You got into my head," Miles said. "Yeah, you want me to do this proper? Means I jack in. Hand, arm, eye firmware should all be updated now. That's some funky software you have in there, but that didn't stop me. Some local resources had what I needed ready to download for only a few credits. Whole module might be replaced with something a little more streamlined, but I don't know. There's something to be said about the old units like yours, but artificial skin would be the first thing if it were me, dog. You look like one of the metalheads with your rig. Plus, it draws attention. How much longer? Not long. Putting another layer of skin regen on your burn. A rib took most of the damage, so I filled that. Lost some intercostal muscle tissue, which will be painful as it heals. You'll want follow-up appointments. Skin's going to be fine, but there's always the danger of infection. Lucky it didn't penetrate the chest cavity. Guessing we wouldn't be having this conversation if we did. Lung strike with a laser? Yeet. What about my shoulder? Superficial. Skin and muscle. May I suggest armor the next time you get into a burner fight? Just finish up. The doctor crouched over him for a moment, applying something which hissed with a sharp jet of compressed air. Then he looked up again at Miles. I recognize your implants. Thought they looked familiar once I got into the make and model. Dog, did we have an appointment a few weeks ago? Miles winced when he took in a breath too fast. Don't tell me. That was you? Things sometimes come full circle. After you get my bill, you may need to reconsider what you do with your particular assets. Speaking of assets, what did you do with my motorcycle? It didn't feel like sleep. The pleasant numbness which had washed over him had snuck up and knocked him out without him realizing it. The next thing Miles knew, he was in a hospital room, the aches and pains gone, and the world smothered by a soft pillow. Insight scrolled hundreds of pages past his field of vision. He could have ignored it, sinking back down into the bliss of unconsciousness. But then he reminded himself where he lay and who the doctor was. And as he recalled the events of the previous night, he knew he couldn't go back to sleep. Images flashed in the corner of his eye. What was Insight doing? He blinked hard to pull up the interface. Everything was different. Clunky tabs were replaced with colored overlays. With a thought, Insight showed him traffic, a news feed, a sale promotion at a grocery store, job listings, a weather report. Insight? What is this? Seraph Net. The enhanced uplink node has a wider range, with automatic updates. We're online? Yes. In anticipation of setup preferences, I've begun cataloging a backlist of items on the net which might interest you. To shut up. Hold on. Turn off uplink. Uplink ended. And turn off every automatic process. Check with me first. Understood? Understood. Miles' heart hammered in his chest. He took a moment to calm down before climbing out of bed. Had the doctor adjusted the Insight settings? The last thing he wanted was for his brain module to be online while he was asleep. With people like the Meridian agents out there, it was like shining a spotlight into the sky. He needed a phone, needed a burner, needed to get out of there. He paused before dismissing Insight's screen, expanded it so it filled his vision. While SeraphNet was only a city-wide service, it received unofficial information dumps from sources in both River City and New Pacific. He scanned the headlines. Bellow Tiger's parent company elects new CEO. Xander Trowbridge found dead in Bright Blocks. Suspected suicide. Downtown bombing investigation yields links to anarchist. Town meeting scheduled to address terrorist threat. Scrolling further, he finally found anything which mentioned Bing Patton. Yellow Tiger chief passes away after fight with cancer. No mention of Shahid Kar, Lucien, Meridian, or any showdown between the militias. As an afterthought, he searched for himself, or anything the marshals had done, but he found nothing. A silver lining to the less than robust news services of his newly adopted city. With a hard blink, he cleared Insight away and went to find his clothing. Miles had guessed it was morning, but the sun was in the southwest. For everything Insight could now do, the time hadn't been set, and he had been out for longer than expected. Heat waves rolled off the tops of the nearest crate stacks. The air tasted thick. The few residents who were outside the Bright Blocks clinic appeared to be trying to move as little as possible and stuck to the shade. Tristan rolled up out front in his three-wheel tuk-tuk. He leaned forward on the steering wheel. Lost your phone again? When the nurse said she'd call you, I didn't know if you'd come. He spread his arms as if to say, Ta-da! I'm here. Take me home. After a few minutes of navigating his way through the bright block streets, Tristan glanced at Miles sheepishly. Manager? Fired you. Figured as much. I can tell him you got attacked, that you're sick, that you'll be back. Not sure if I'm coming back. You gotta eat, you gotta pay rent. I can spare you a few credits, but things are tight with the kids. A ride to the hotel is what I need. I can quit too. Maybe then he'll have to take both of us back. We could be like a union or something. Collective bargaining, right? Miles hung on as they rounded a corner. A wave of nausea took a moment to pass. Don't do that. You don't have to feel guilty that you still have a job. I made my choices. Here I am. I'll be fine. You don't look fine, Tristan said in a small voice. Just saying. Tristan brought him back to his hotel on Galena Road. I'll help you to your room. I'll make it, thanks. I appreciate it more than you can imagine. Someone who wasn't the manager was mopping the lobby. The air smelled clean. The teen wore a collared shirt and khakis. Resident. Yeah, Miles said. Paid up for the week. Your ID? He presented the card key and hoped it would do. Where's the manager? You're looking at him. Old Cash had a heart attack last night. I'm his son Wyatt. No drugs, no guests, no hookers, no noise after 9 p.m. Tomorrow the door gal comes, and you'll need your key to get into the lobby. You have a problem with that? Nope, no problem at all. Some things resolve themselves. After washing up, he took stock. The Bright Blocks gang had relieved him of his remaining credits. He hadn't decided if they had taken him to Dr. Brooke with the idea of selling his parts, or if they had wanted to save him. Didn't matter, he reckoned. His stomach grumbled. He figured he could start walking and make the charity kitchen dinner service if he set out immediately. After that, find a phone and make sure Dylan and Zoe were okay. He had a dog to retrieve, probably a dozen other loose ends, but judging by the headlines, Seraph was moving on. He had saved Lucian Carr, hadn't he? Assuming Dawn hadn't killed him. Somehow, he believed her that Lucian still lived. The son of the information broker would have to navigate his own life from now on, and if he decided to let Svetlana Petrov to take over, it was on him. With the transponder gone and once again in Don Moretti's hands, the situation could just as easily start up again. But for now, he could sit it out. It would take a week of sleep before he could digest everything. Probably had a warrant out for his arrest. Surely the sheriff and the militias knew where to find him, but they could wait until after dinner. The new manager was in the lobby and spoke with a raised voice. I can't share that information with you. We have a strict no-visitor policy. Dylan stood facing him. If you won't let me pass, at least call up to the room. I'm not a messaging service. There's no phone in the room you're asking about, and I won't tell you whether anyone's home or not. His son held his ground. It's my father up there. He may not be well. Miles stepped down the last of the stairs. Dylan. Wyatt had stopped his son in the doorway. Dylan craned his neck and the manager let him pass. Dylan came forward, only to pause. Dad, what happened to you? I've been trying to call. Then I got a message telling me first you were in a clinic in Bright Blocks, and then you were back here. A message from who? It was anonymous. Thought maybe it's your cop friend with a private number. Or Dawn was still tracking him with a bug. Time to replace all his clothes and scrub down. I'm fine. There was more trouble. I lost my device. Dylan looked Miles over. Let's go get you one then. Can you tell me what happened? It's a long story. I don't know if you want to hear it. They left the hotel. Dylan's silver car was across the street. I'm still mad at you, Dad. You could have gotten Zoe hurt, or worse. If something happened to her, nothing did. Will you let me finish? If anything had happened, I could never forgive you. Roping her into your investigation put her life on the line. You understand that, right? Yes. Dylan nodded. His nostrils flared. He fumbled with the key as he tried to get the car started. He got it going on the third attempt. They drove to the nearby drugstore. Dylan parked and set the brakes before taking a deep breath and facing his father. Some of the things in the news, you were involved. I don't think I want to know. It's your business if you decide to become a cop again, but this isn't River City. The news only tells a little of what happens around Seraph. There's a lot of bad people here, some good ones too, but things are different. I'm getting the sense of that. What I mean is, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Telling you to be careful won't happen. You're you. But I love Zoe. I screwed up. I won't involve either of you in my work, I promise. Dylan had broken off eye contact again, was nodding too eagerly. Let's get you your phone. Chapter 37. The crew of students on the University Theater stage erected the last piece of scenery, a fabricated backdrop of a parlor wall painted in white and pink, with a false window and door, along with a mantel holding a vase with drooping flowers. Lucien Carr stood at the corner of the stage. He wore a black mock turtleneck sweater and tight slacks. Tilt it more. It's meant to be off-center. There, that's right. Miles had entered the auditorium through an open side door. When Lucien saw him, he dropped off the stage and met him halfway down the center aisle. No one was close enough to overhear. You survived, Lucien said. Yeah, so did you. This isn't a proper rehearsal. You should wait until next Thursday for a preview. I'll make sure you get tickets. I'm not here for that. I'm looking in on you. Wasn't sure if you made it. Lucien spread his arms. Here we both are. Is there some business we didn't finish? Are you hoping for a thank you? A returned favor? Payment? No, I was doing my job. Then why are you interrupting me? Miles tried to ease the tension in his voice. When we spoke at your home, you made a point to tell me you learned where my son works, in case it was more than you flexing how much you know. I'm here as a reminder that I'm the one you'll need to deal with if we have a problem. Not my son, not anyone else. Now that they were standing close, it was obvious Lucien was wearing a heavy layer of makeup. It didn't quite cover the swelling, bruises, and cuts marking his face. One student had approached with a tablet in hand, but she hung back. Miles made a quick survey of the rest of the theater. Your bodyguards are gone. I don't want them here. Your father's business? Svetlana can have it, Lucien said firmly. I quit. You trust her enough to do that after what she pulled? No, but what choice do I have? I told her what I want. She said she'd respect my decision. And she'll support you while she runs the intelligence operation. That's none of your business. You're right. It's not. Miles left the theater. If Svetlana Petrov was going to honor her arrangement with Lucien after everything, then perhaps Miles had misread her. She had wanted them both dead back at Bright Blocks. Perhaps that had changed. With the transponder off the table, she might need Lucien after all. But Miles was a loose end. Would she come after him? Not for the moment. Besides being a witness to her actions, he had nothing on her. And he had his own legal trouble. Their paths had no reason to cross. And he guessed if Lucien was content in his life as a thespian, she would be free to operate Shahid Kar's network as she pleased. With a ringing chord and plenty of reverb, Dylan's band played. Miles had heard enough of it from his previous nights out to understand it wasn't just a wall of noise. The dissonance coalesced and occasionally came through with a pleasing refrain before setting off on a fresh course of unfamiliar sounds, never letting the listener settle on a theme or find a melody. And just as suddenly, the tune ended. The next number stood in stark contrast, gentle, repeating, building to something, and delivering an emotional, melancholic refrain which was familiar. Miles realized he had heard it before and, even more surprising, realized he liked the piece. At the other tables, heads bobbed to the rhythm. Smiles. Most of the conversations had died as something of a spell settled over the crowd. Miles turned the teacup around on its base and considered the vacant chair opposite him. She wasn't coming. Fair enough. They went out when Miles had invited her the first time he had gone to see Dylan play, and 2 times after. She had told him not to have any expectations. They were never dates. When the dog rushed up and jammed its muzzle into his lap, he almost jumped from his chair. Santa Butra Sins sat down across from him and waved a server over. "The white ale, please." The server hurried off as she settled in. The dog wedged itself near Miles' feet. He ran his hands on the dog's head, caught a whiff of soap. "I'm pretty sure there are no pets allowed in here. Did you give him a bath?" He was filthy, and I checked at the door. They don't have a problem with well-behaved animals. "I didn't think you'd come. Ghosting's not my style. If I was going to break plans with you, I would have called. They played this one last time, didn't they?" "Yeah. I think the song's growing on me." The beer arrived. She sipped it, nodded her approval, drank some more. The band moved on to a third number, a syncopating, rhythm-heavy mood piece with shifting violet and blue lights cast about the stage. The performers looked like shadows. Dylan started in on a guitar adagio, which mesmerized. Both Miles and Santa Butra tried to speak at the same time. "Go ahead," she conceded. "I'm sorry you got in trouble for what I did." She waved it off. Miles rotated the teacup again. "I'm serious. Like you said, you put your job at stake, your pension, and we barely know each other. It was the right thing to do. I made my choice because I know the kind of man you are. What I can't fathom is why you put so much on the line for a piece of trash like Lucien Carr. He's slime, but he didn't deserve to lose his life just because I don't like him. He wasn't the job." "He wasn't. Barma wanted me to find out what happened in the junkyard. Lucian was there because his father needed a driver. Then he was abducted by the Meridian agents and kidnapped again by his lawyer. Yellow Tigers are still sorting that out. No one's talking. It's twice that you risked everything to find him. You also stepped up with your friend Dawn. I'm thinking they'd both be dead if not for you. A lesser person would have let it go. You served. You did your part. You have a son who you're getting to know, and you earned it. Yet you put your neck on the line for strangers. And if I was that person who let it go, would you be here with me tonight?" She drank her beer and watched the stage. The lights shifted to deep reds and yellows. The music had quickened, the soft piece now rising with a heavy synth bass. Dylan was in the zone, as sweat reflected on his brow. When the piece abruptly ended, the band bowed. The audience erupted in applause. Santa Butra put fingers to her lips and whistled. She wasn't going to answer the question. The dog shifted at his feet. "Was this rascal any trouble?" Miles asked. "We're talking about the kids now? Usually it's the sign the marriage is on its last legs, if that's the best we can do." "Fair enough," Miles said. "How is it going with your review? Any word of how the restructuring is going to change your organization?" "Relax, Kim. I'm pulling your leg, and I don't want to talk about work. You're here, be here. Enjoy the music. You mind if I order another beer?" Brown ale replaced the empty glass. Miles had some tea as the band started in on a bouncy tune with an animated laser effect gyrating above them. "I washed him," Santa Butra said. "Local shop had a flea shampoo I used. I kept the receipt. You ever wonder why the dog took to you?" "No clue. He showed up at the construction site. Never been good with animals. He's a naughty dog. The good ones are, but he's not real." "What?" She smirked. "I thought you were a detective. I didn't notice until I brought him home and washed him in the garage. He's artificial, high-end. Nothing on the records of any model like this having been stolen. No one posted about it being missing. Strange, if you ask me, because he's probably worth as much as a new car, if not more. There are a few outfits who sell these things, if you feel like checking. Well, I guess that solves whether I can keep him in my room, but he ate and drank. Artificial animals will do that, but you have to occasionally clean out their insides if they do. Better download a user manual to know how." "A fake," Miles laughed. The dog had fooled him, and why not? He hadn't even imagined such a thing would be running around loose on the streets of Seraph. but who lost it would be a mystery for tomorrow. He put his hand down and petted the dog, felt its warmth, heard it whine when the horn player screeched a high note, wondered if the dog's smell was a feature. "You're real enough for me," he said to the dog. Santa Butra glanced at him. "What?" "Nothing. Just talking to my friend." Miles and Santa Butra tried to end the evening with a hurried goodbye, but Dylan met them out back before they could leave. The band had a waiting group of friends who appeared to be in a hurry to go somewhere to celebrate. Santa Butra gave Dylan a hug. "Great set. Amazing as always." Dylan appeared nervous and uncomfortable. "Thanks, a bit choppy. I missed a couple of cues, almost threw everyone off." "No one noticed, I'm sure." "Where's Zoe?" Miles asked. "She stayed in," Dylan said. "Needed some downtime." "Tell her we say hi. Go be with your friends. I'll text you tomorrow. And Dylan, I'm proud of you." Miles watched as Dylan and his group departed. A string trio was getting ready to enter the club. They were dressed as marionettes with stark white makeup and bright red lipstick, along with hats with bells. "That's my cue to leave," Santa Butra said. "Yeah, me too." They squeezed through the crowd milling about out front and made it across the street where Miles had parked his latest bike. It was almost as large as Dr. Brooks' big wheel monstrosity and longer than most sedans. Crimson red fenders, brushed steel pipes, a little rust on the chassis, and it leaked transmission fluid. "Where'd you find that?" she asked. "Marma offered me a permanent job. Then someone listed the bike for sale this morning. I needed a ride." She smirked. "You barely survived the last time you worked with him. What did you tell him?" "He came through with a paycheck this morning." "And what made you spend your precious credits on this eyesore?" "Gets me from point A to point B." "For all your modesty, you're a show-off." "No, I'm not." "Your arm and shiny head and bright eye. You're not ashamed of what you are, and that's good. But after this week, I understand you have people out for you. There's such a thing as keeping a low profile, and now this bike. I can't keep calling other people to get around. Thanks for coming out again." "My pleasure." Dylan plays next Friday, a place called the Old Smoking Club. "Never heard of it. Sounds dreary, but I'd love to be there. So are we doing this?" Miles tightened his mouth. "Doing what?" "This. Us. If we are, then we don't have to limit it to seeing your son play, as much as I enjoy it." "I don't know. Are we?" "You said you weren't interested in dating." "Dating is an activity which is exhausting on every level, but being social with people I care about is good for me as much as I want to veg out at home with a book. So which is it, detective?" "Did I tell you I'm not good at this? Rusty doesn't cover it. Yes, I want to see you. I don't know Seraph or any places to go. A cheap outing is the best I can manage right now. Free is even better. And I wasn't an actual detective." "Detective, cop. Same ballpark. We trip over clues and catch bad guys and hope at the end of the day we did more right than wrong. I work for a for-profit paramilitary organization responsible for policing the best hope for civilization free from corporate tyrants. My boss got killed trying to acquire a piece of tech which would have placed him and two criminal overlords at the top of a new food chain which would oppress the people I'm sworn to protect. It would have been as bad, if not worse, anything Meridian managed during its years of dominance. I know I did right in what went down, and I believe you did too. Tomorrow, who knows? Then let's check in with each other tomorrow and see where it leads." He watched her drive off. The dog bumped his leg and looked up at him with eyes which caught the glow of the streetlights. Then, without prompting, it jumped to the seat of his motorcycle. "All right, dog, time to get you home." The end. I hope you enjoyed listening to A Haunt of Jackals. Miles Kim's adventures continue in The Gallows of Heaven.